I marched into my mom's room at like midnight one night and was like, hey, look at these guys' MySpace page. It's so cool. They write their own songs and record them. They're in a band. They've played shows. I was like, they live an hour and a half away. I've never met them before. Will you drive me an hour and a half upstate so I can go hang out in one of their basements?
I remember playing Green Day American Idiot really badly.
Really?
Yeah, my parents probably hate that album. but that's it, yeah. And then just like so many years in his parents' basement just playing. Yeah.
Locked in my basement. I locked a lot of boys in my basement over the years.
Against the Current, join me on Upgrade Sounds. We talk about the band's humble beginnings in Will Ferry's basement. We also talk about the journey Chrissy used to make an hour and a half upstate just to play with the guys. And we also talk about records such as Past Life, their brand new one, Silent Stranger, and everything they've achieved over the past 10 years. Welcome to Upgrade Sounds. So my first question that I like to ask all my guests, because I think it signifies so much and there's so many great memories that come from this, is what is your earliest memory with music?
Oh, that's a good one.
My earliest memory, probably when I got like a little like toy drum set first. I was probably like, I don't know, like maybe like 4 or something like that. Right. And I just had it set up in my room. It was like this big, and I would just play to CDs on this little boombox, like, and all like the old school, like kind of like emo stuff, like Saves the Day, Taking Back Sunday, Fall Out Boy, Good Charlotte. Fall Out Boy and Good Charlotte are the ones I really remember playing to those records. And then it's really crazy because we ended up touring with both of those bands and we're like peers in a lot of ways. So that was kind of crazy. That's a crazy first memory.
There's a photo of me stealing the mic from like some band that was performing while my family was on vacation, but I was like 2, but it'd be a lie saying it's my earliest memory because I don't actually remember it myself. But so I think my actual earliest memory is just when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I had a little like boombox CD player thing.
What were you playing on it?
It was like all the boy bands and NSYNC and like Britney Spears and stuff, which is, I never really listened to that after that point, so I don't remember a lot of it. But I just remember that there was like an area rug in the room, and I would use that rug as the stage. Like that was the outline of my stage, and I would perform, and that was my thing. And it was like I would act like I was on stage, and that was what I was obsessed with. And so, I never thought about it that I've been training for this my whole life. It's been a long training montage.
I remember playing Green Day American Idiot really badly.
Really?
Yeah, my parents probably hate that album. but that's it, yeah. And then just like so many years in his parents' basement just playing. Yeah.
Locked in my basement. Yeah. I locked a lot of boys in my basement over the years.
And a girl. Yeah. I ended up there.
Yeah.
The reason
I made it.
I said before that I have a full circle moment concerning you and your family.
Let's go. Let's hear it. I'll take the mic for this one.
So, my first ever concert, which was almost 10 years ago it's about a month out, about 10 years ago to the day.
Okay.
My first ever concert I ever went to was We Are the In Crowd at the Roundhouse in London.
Oh, yeah.
And your brother and the rest of the guys played a fantastic set. And it's probably why I'm here doing this today. You know, that band had such a great impact on me. You know, and then I found Against the Current and so many others.
Yeah. I mean, they had a huge impact on us, too.
Yeah. I remember when that show was happening. Because,
yeah, so do I.
Yeah, we had just, like, formed, like, a year or 2 prior to that, because we've been... And then I remember, I remember that, like, when they were going over to the UK to do that show, and remember hearing about, like, that venue and stuff, and being like, oh, this is so cool, like, I want to be there one day, like, that kind of thing, so,
It's looking like it's on the cards for Against the Current, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it could definitely... I mean, this time around, you're playing such great venues, just on tour with Pierce the Veil as well.
Yeah, that was cool.
Know? Like, how are you feeling about, the direction your project is going in? Because it looks great.
It's been a big difference in the last, like, year and a half-ish of touring. It's almost like we started over again, like, started a new band post-pandemic. I think with the release of Fever, we kind of settled into what Against the Current really is and what it's going to be. I think Past Lives, our last full-length album, was kind of a little bit more of a. There's great songs on it. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't core to our identity. So I think this was kind of like a, I don't know, it feels as if it was a call to all the, the Against the Current fans, past, present, and future. And the growth we've seen over the last year and a half of touring has been really crazy. It feels like how it felt when we started.
Right.
Yeah.
You say it almost feels like a different band post-pandemic. What exactly changed, from before to where we are now?
We did go independent, so that was really cool. Because that's kind of how we started. It feels like a different band, but also the same band. It kind of just feels like a restart. Like we got to do it again. We got to start from the beginning all over again with Fever and kind of establishing our identity. And to me, it's really reminiscent of the Gravity era for us, which was our second EP, but we toured it like an album. We did a world tour off of it. It was our first headlining world tour type thing. And it just feels like that again. It's very much, everything's in our hands right now. We're unsigned. We do, everything comes from the three of us, basically. We obviously have some amazing people around us on our team as well. But it's just in-house. It's not what anyone else tells us it should be. So it kind of just feels like, I don't know, it's very close to us.
Yeah. The reason I started this podcast, Upgrade Sounds, was mainly to, hear people's stories and their journeys. And hopefully if there's a musician listening to this that is, at the beginning of their journey, they can take inspiration or understand, I guess, from a different point of view, what it's like to be in a band. And going independent, that's a massive step.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? Like, what was the conversations around that, and how do you feel as a unit?
I think it was something that was coming to a head it was on that track. And it happened though at the best time where we kind of finally had the confidence to believe in ourselves. We started really young. We were 15 when we started, and growing up in, the shadow of Will's older brother's band and that kind of thing, there was a bit of a path carved. It was also a female-fronted band. So there's a lot of thought, to follow that path, follow the mold. There's other paths that have been carved from other bands. And for us, a lot of the time we spent listening to everyone else, which is good. You should listen to people who have come before you, and you should listen to their experience and take advice. But we didn't ever make the transition to realizing that we also knew best as well. We knew Against the Current best. We knew our fans best. We knew our community best. We knew what we wanted to say. And then I think in going independent, it's really given that back to us where we're like, hold on, we've been a band for 12 years now. We started in 2011 together, the three of us. We know Against the Current better than anyone else. And what works for Against the Current might be different than what works for other bands, and it might be a little bit different. And it might be a little bit of the same too. It's kind of a give and take. So I think just getting that confidence back in going independent was really important for us to just make those decisions and realize that we don't need someone telling us what song we have to make, what record we have to make, when we have to put it out, what we should look like, what we should dress like, what we should sound like, any of that. We know that.
Was there anything you would have done differently?
Just in general, just like over the years? Probably a lot.
I guess from the going independent.
From going independent.
Actually, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, just over the years. Is there anything you would have done differently as a band?
I mean, it's such a tough question because you could say a million things, but then also we're where we are now because of all the decisions that got us here. And there's no way to say that if we had done it differently, we wouldn't be an arena band now, or we could have broken up 5 years ago because it didn't work at all. So it's really tough to make that call. I think the thing that I would have probably told us is just to stick to our gut more. I think that's the thing that I always say. And that's a tough piece of advice because sometimes your gut is not trained very well. So I hate giving that advice to new musicians sometimes, especially because sometimes our gut is wrong. Sometimes our gut doesn't know what it's doing yet, or it kind of knows, but I think
to be a fully developed gut.
Yeah, you got to take your probiotics or prebiotics, that kind. But I do think it's don't put everything into someone else's hands. Music's personal. It's about that. That's why it connects with people, is when it comes from here. So it's got to start at least here, and then maybe someone's got a little bit of a better idea on some other of the logistic sides of things, but stay true to what's genuine first. So I think we kind of lost a little bit of that, especially on the Past Lives album.
Okay. And that was really insightful. So thank you.
Thanks.
I guess I want to know, what it was like. Take me back to those moments where you were, working in your basement, where you were, practicing. And what was that moment like where you decided, we want to be in a band and we want to be against the current?
I mean, I think we kind of we already knew we wanted to be a band.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we spent so many.
Yeah.
But you guys had bands
hard.
first.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
me and Dan were already down there in that basement for I don't even know how many years. So
6,
6 years. There we go. 6 years.
I think.
And we wanted to like do the real thing, but we couldn't get the right people around us. Like we never had like a legit singer. You
Right.
know, like it was just we were missing those pieces. So then when we met Chrissy, we were like, okay, we're going for it. We're going for it. We're doing the thing. So
Yeah.
do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, we were definitely like always waiting for a proper front person,
Right.
and we'd been down there for so long.
We've been down there freezing in that basement.
By the way, which is hysterical because I did not come in from a band at all. So you look back at those videos and you're like, what were we all thinking? Like, why were we, but there was something.
Well, how did you
Yeah.
come in then, Chrissy?
Partially through mutual friends, like just in a long, crazy, weird string of mutual friends in the industry. And then we lived an hour and a half apart. And I marched into my mom's room at like midnight one night and was like, hey, look at these kids' MySpace page. I wouldn't have said kids because we were the same age. I was like, look at these guys' MySpace page. It's so cool. They write their own songs and record them. They're in a band. They've played shows. And that's all I wanted to do. I did it I did some local lessons at our School of Rock, which was like rock music school.
Amazing.
And played some like cover shows with them. But that was it. I was like, they live an hour and a half away. I've never met them before. I met them through a friend of a friend of a friend. Will you drive me an hour and a half upstate so I can go hang out in one of their basements? And somehow it all worked out, which I think is a little bit of the universe, pushing fate there, because that is not an easy sell as a 15-year-old girl to your like pretty traditional semi-strict
Sure.
parent. They weren't crazy strict, but kind of strict
Sure.
parents. I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend or anything yet. So like, for me to be just like, yeah, I want to go hang out in a basement. Let's go. Like, so yeah. Then there we were in the basement.
And what's been your proudest moments, each of you?
It's a good question.
I think for me, coming back after the pandemic and then doing our biggest show in Germany,
Right.
like that show was pretty special. So that's when it's like everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, that was a good one. Do you have yours?
Oh, are you going with the same thing?
No, I don't know yet. I was still
yet either.
ideating. I'm trying to think of what the proudest moment. I think one of the proudest moments was actually our show. Are you talking about this Germany show or the last Germany show?
The last one.
Yeah, okay. I was actually gonna say the last one too, because technically this one was bigger, but the last one was bigger at the time.
Sure.
It was our biggest show. I remember we upgraded it because we were in a really small venue, and we sold it out really fast. And then we were going to a venue that was 4 times the size, and we were kind of like, everyone was like, "Don't worry, you're not gonna sell it out. It's okay, but like it's gonna be a lot better.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like 70 or whatever." And we did sell it out, and we filmed it, and it was crazy. And there was a mosh pit from wall to wall, and it was just. It just didn't feel like what any Against the Current shows had felt like so far. We were looking at the line outside. We're like, whose fucking gig is this? Like, this isn't ours. Like, there was dudes like there. Like, we're talking like these big freaking dudes, like ready for the mosh pit. And I'm sitting there in like my skirt, like, what are you guys here for? Like, just feeling like, I'm like twirling on stage. Like, why? You guys think we're cool? Like, and yeah, so that I don't know. It was a pretty special moment, I think.
What about you?
I guess, I mean, when we actually like officially like inked our like an actual record deal, that was at the time that was pretty satisfying because that was kind of like all I wanted. So, like I remember even I like wrote myself like a letter. You write it in like middle school or something,
Right.
and then you get it like when you graduate.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to write this big long thing about like where you want to be like in life, what you want to do, all
Yeah.
this stuff. And I just like put 2 boxes, and one was just like tour for a living and like sign like a record deal. And it was pretty cool because when I got the letter, I got to check both of those things. So that was nice.
That's really cute.
These are great answers. Honestly, you're giving
Post
me
that.
some of the best answers I've had today. Honestly, so I guess, let's talk about the music. Of course, "Silent Stranger" being your latest release.
Yeah.
Fantastic song, by the way. Really,
Thank you.
really great. Why don't you talk to me about how over these, I guess, when you're writing in the basement to where you are now, obviously, your creative process might have changed. So, how has it changed? How have you grown as songwriters? And, like, what are some of the key things you think are important to writing good songs?
Ooh, it's a huge question.
It's a fact question.
So many things have changed, but also I think it's kind of tough. The biggest thing that I think on the most recent stuff is that we have learned our strengths and to lean into our strengths and lean into each other's strengths, essentially. So knowing when to pass the baton and being like, this is your world, you do this. This is your world, you do this. And also acknowledging our weaknesses and being like, hey, none of us are very good at this one thing. We should bring someone in to help us with that. We should bring in another set of hands or eyes or voice or whatever it is to help with that. I think that was pretty big. We've kind of tried a ton of different writing styles over the years, and we don't really have one. It's not always like, it starts this way and ends that way. Sometimes Will has a track idea first, sometimes it's almost a full song, basically, just without vocals. Sometimes it's a little idea, like a thing. Sometimes it's a vocal idea, and I write with someone else and then bring it to the guys, and we produce the whole thing. So it's kind of, yeah. I think especially in the more recent stuff, too, though, we've learned to lean in to what we do individually. So guitar, drums, and vocals. I think there had been times where we wanted to experiment with every little bell and whistle that we could find, and that was really fun for a while.
What did that look like?
That was Past Lives.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which it's cool. It's fun. It's like, once again, Past Lives, it sounds like I hate that album. I love that album. It just wasn't an against the current album, it felt like, I think was the thing, like a real against the current album. Some of those songs.
Past life.
Yeah.
It really was.
Does feel like a past life. Doesn't feel like it
We're
gets
just doing something different.
Yeah, we were spicing it up, which is fine too, But yeah, I think we realized that we have spent so much time then taking songs like that and trying to translate them live into our rock show. And we kind of said to ourselves, why don't we just record the songs the way we want to play the songs? And it'll probably save us a lot more of a headache and also just be better for us. It'll be more against the current. So when we play all the stuff from Fever and all the new singles, they sound like the album because that's how we recorded them. But when we play some of the songs that are on Past Lives or other things, it kind of is very different. Even Wasteland, we make that into way rockier and stuff. So yeah.
I know you guys have got a very busy day, so I'm going to let you go. But before I do, thank you so much for coming on. It genuinely has been a pleasure and an honor, and I'm super grateful.
Thanks for having us.
But you guys have had such a great, well-rounded journey so far. Where do you see it going? Where would you like to see Against the Current, end up?
Biggest band in the world.
Biggest band in the world. Yeah, I mean, hopefully the 10 plus years we've put in is just kind of like the setup. Kind of feels like it. We like tried a few different things, so maybe it's the start now. Hopefully a nice another 10 years.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.